What you doing, Patch? Look his cute little brown patch on his bottom. How cute's that? Hey, Harry, come here. Come on. Hello, darling. What you up to? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. A little bit of a break from the Japan videos. Obviously, we've just got back from Japan over the last, I've probably been back for like 2 weeks now. I'm still editing those videos, but the way that I film them shouldn't take too long, so I'm not having to spend hours and hours editing every video. Anyway, today's video is an update on my little XK A800. This little plane has gone through so much. So here's the beast in all its glory. Now it's had all sorts of dramas. This part of the wing here, close to the fuselage, has cracked. I've crashed it probably about 4 times, but it's bounced back really well. Now what you will notice is that I don't have the canopy on, and this is the way I've been flying it. I've had 2 flights like this. And the reason why I have it on is because the weakest point in this aircraft is right here. I've repaired it 2 or 3 times with weld bond glue, having to wait 2 or 3 days at a time for it to cure and form a strong bond. And I just thought, well, it's just coming off again. Like if I have a tiny bump, slightly rough landing, it seems to bump it off. And everything else about this plane is like super durable. It's an excellent plane. I've mentioned before that I've reinforced the leading edges with sticky tape. I've got sticky tape pretty much covering all around here, but it's basically just from this part of the nose cone. This is like holding, it's like a support. So it's sticking there, and I've actually pulled it taut and stuck it up here as well. Just to lift that nose, because the last time I flew it yesterday, it was a bit windy and I cracked it again. And I was like, oh, bugger this. I'm just going to use sticky tape. And it's working really well. Like today is a beautiful day outside, and I flew the plane, the last flight time, I only just got back. I flew the plane for, well, recorded 13 minutes, but it was up in the air for at least probably 2 minutes more than that before I even started my stopwatch. So it had a huge flight time, and that was largely due to the favourable conditions. It's very warm outside, and I think there's like an updraft over some trees I was flying over. And considering how many trees there wasn't a lot of turbulence. It's actually a little bit closer to where I live. So Thomas Dalton Park is the big open field where I flew. I have been flying. I've probably flown about 20 times or 30 times there. I've got a lot of, I mean, considering I'm basically a brand new pilot, crashed this thing maybe 3 or 4 times, rebuilt it pretty much all here and just there. I reckon I'm doing pretty well. So I changed locations because today I went out there, had an early flight at about 6 o'clock, or no, it was about 6:45 I think. And there was no one out at Thomas Dalton Park. It was a little bit windy, had a bit of a flight, you know, like sort of filled that need to get up in the air again. But it was a real blessing. I went out again after I charged the battery, and there must have been some kind of sports comp or something with the kids. There was young kids out there, and there was obviously organised teams and things. So I thought, well, I'm not going to fly out there. There's too many people around. So I just went to the park, to Thomas Dalton Park. Not Thomas Dalton Park, to, I forget the name of it, Stewart Park, which is just up the road from me. And it's really, really good there. Like, there's way more obstacles. There are just so many obstacles there. But if you know where the wind's coming from, I stood around for a bit just to see if the wind was going to change around and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, you can't tell what the wind's doing above your head in terms of feeling it. You can look around the trees and see what they're doing, but aside from that, you know, you don't really know. You can really only guess. So I thought, well, hey, I've just got sticky tape on this thing. It's pretty strong at the moment. You know, if something happens, then I'm happy to deal with that. So I went out there, took a bit of a risk, and it just flew really, really well. I'm really happy with this little plane. Caught some updrafts or thermals or whatever they were, kept us in the air for longer. so much more control. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. I was just able to, I caught the plane a couple of times too. Like I just flew it right near me, flew it over my head and caught it. And it's actually surprising, like, it's a pretty docile kind of a plane, but you don't realize actually how fast they're coming in at you. So, you know, make sure that prop is off, the motor's off, and otherwise you might get a few cuts and a bit of blood. Thankfully none of that happened, so that was good. Yeah, so it's right where the skydivers land, which was really interesting. It's sort of like on the other side of their building. They sort of come around the top, land on the eastern side of their building. It's like they've got it all marked out with cones and everything. So yeah, while I was flying, I pretty much took off when I went down there just before earlier today. The skydivers had just landed, so they go in. It's not the same group, not the same instructors that go. They have to repack their chutes and everything. But there's a window. There's probably like 20 minutes or half an hour or something between the next lot. Probably even more than that. So as soon as they landed, I was up and flying around, and I was in plain sight. Like I was under the shade of a tree. But I figured if they had any issues, they would have come and told me. The last time I flew there, I flew just outside of that landing circle, and I actually did have a guy come up and say, oh, look, you know, skydivers are coming down here. I went, oh yeah, no worries. Like, I was aware though that, you know, that's what happens, but I just wanted to test that area because it's an open field and rah, rah, rah. Probably not quite the right thing to do. But anyway, I had to go, and I made sure that the aircraft was down before I saw any skydivers. So yeah, just so much fun. So this is how it's going to stay for a while. I'm going to keep this piece of sticky tape on there. I've got another piece of tape that comes across the battery, just holding it down. So if I do decide to do any aerobatics or anything, it's not going to fly around. But every time I have taken this thing out and taken the canopy off afterwards, it's never moved. It's wedged in there pretty good, but I thought I'm not going to take any risks. And then I just leave it in the plane, because it's a tiny plane anyway, it doesn't really matter. I usually charge it in the study, and I'm going to set up my charger just up here, and I'll get it going. So I might actually do that now. So here is the charger, and I'm just going to unplug that, plug this in, bring the plane a little bit closer, and yeah, I'm just going to plug this in. Alright, so it's all plugged in. And I've got my little blinking light, which means it's charging. So that was my last flight time, but that wasn't including the 2 minutes or so before, and actually flew it around a couple of times. Like the battery was running low, and I thought I'll just do it again. I'll just have another pass. So I was probably closer to 16 minutes, which is amazing from this little 300 milliamp hour battery. And it usually takes around about an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 20 for it to charge up. So yeah, that's the long and the short of it. I'm going to go out again. Hopefully the wind hasn't picked up. It is a little bit breezy out there, and maybe that's what's contributed to the lift and everything, but it's so much fun. I stand under the tree. I need to get a hat there. Cut off all my hair. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.